something here. Yo. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Messing around in my man cave here. What up, OG Bruce Lee? You got me? Jaquino, what up, what up, what up? So we good? Oh man, I don't even think I need my headphones there. We straight? All right, man. Hold on, let me take these out, man. Something about the feedback that I like to hear. So y'all still got me, right? Y'all can hear me? We straight? All right, one more sound check. I'm good. All right, cool. What up, Saeed? What up? All right, man. So I'm just chiming in the man cave real fast, man. Just wanted to say what's up with you. Been dealing with this some Martian energy real fast. So I'm like, you know what, man? Let me build on this real fast because we got a way to deal with Mars, you know. So let me explain that the best way I can. You know, on this channel, again, if you go to the celebrity news and celebrity deaths playlist, you know, when a lot of violent things happen to people, you can bet your behind Mars is involved. Now, what do I mean by that? If you can just imagine a wall clock and you can put a planet at any of the 12 zodiac signs or any of the 12 locations on the wall clock when you were born, it's as if those planets are stationary. We're taking a picture of where all the planets were at when a person was born, right? And so that is your birth chart. It's 100% predicated upon your time of birth. Now, the planets keep moving, though. They're just, you know, something was in front of 12 o'clock when you was born. Something was in front of 1 o'clock when you was born. But they keep on moving. And so when we speed it up to the event, Mars in the sky is somewhere. And what the ancients must have noted in order to figure it out was, hey, when you're born with something at 12 o'clock and Mars is at 12 o'clock too in the sky, this is called a conjunction. Two things are conjoining together. We note that the Martian energy of an increase in physical energy can occur. Violence could occur. Fires, heat, passion. You may get this great passionate motivation all of a sudden, this burst of energy. But on the negative side, it could be something violent, such as fights and war, gunshots, things of that nature. So they also noted that when Mars is also at 3 o'clock in reference to the planet that you got at 12 o'clock, this is called a square. They noted that on this particular angle, 3 o'clock, the square, the likelihood of more of the negative side of what that energy represent is likely to manifest. The same as if something is at 9 o'clock. You still got something at 12, but Mars is at 9. So if you notice, 9 o'clock on the wall clock is just the inversion of what 3 o'clock looked like on the wall clock, right? And so it's both forming a 90-degree angle. So they notice when there's this 90-degree angle called a square, there's some issues. And then they also noted if something, Mars is at 6 o'clock in reference to what you have at 12 o'clock, this would look like 12:30 on the wall clock. Then this is called opposition, and this could be a problem as well. I will also note that it's something called an inconjunct, sometimes called a quincux, which if you have something at 7 o'clock and a 5 o'clock position in reference to what you have at 12, this angle has been known to produce friction as well. Trayvon Martin, rest in peace. You go check his birthday. The sun was at 16 degrees Aquarius when he was born, if I'm not mistaken. 16 Aquarius. But the day Zimmerman shot him and killed him, Mars was at 16 Virgo. This is an exact 150. In this case, Trayvon Martin being the Aquarius, let's just say his sun was at the 12 o'clock position. Mars was at the 5 o'clock position on a wall clock. That angle, known as the 150, is noted as a mild angle in astrology. But when I saw that one, when Mars is involved, on any angle is the potential for violence. You just got to know how to measure this thing. Okay. So if you're new to the channel, man, take your time, go through the celebrity news and playlists. There's some great show improve as far as some videos that's on that list, right? For the non-believer, I like to, Minister Jew told me Niels Bohr, a scientist, used to tell Einstein, because Einstein didn't believe, in quantum physics. He called it spooky action at a distance. Shut up and calculate. I like that. Shut up and calculate. Count. Measure. Get busy. Okay. So Mars rules Aries. Aries is the head. Mars is the head. Oftentimes you can get a headache on a Mars transit. Experienced this many times before. So me and Minister Jew was like, man, listen, when he come around, you just need to pop an aspirin beforehand just to have it in your blood, because something which is really a ray of energy, because Mars is traveling. All planets are traveling. Anything that has motion, therefore, it's energy. So this wave of energy is being, pretty much distributed through the solar system. It's entangling within your own, what we call your own energy field. Biophotons and everything you're processing, we process. And this Martian angle of where it is, it's sort of like it's scrambling your signal, sort of like how a cell phone signal can go in, and then all of a sudden the cell phone signal can go out. You know what I'm saying? And so your signal can get scrambled. And that's one of the ways that you can see it via the chart. You know what I'm saying? Or you feel it. So maybe what you should do beforehand is, before your sensors of the human body start to get jammed with this scattered signal, pop you an aspirin, something they may deal with headache, ibuprofen or something that will change the blood chemistry before you feel the effects of the energy coming on, because at that point it's too late and now you're responding. The goal is to learn how to be proactive and get in front of it and ultimately neutralize it, right? So you got to be somewhat of an astro geek to be able to figure out how to measure. It's not hard though. You know what I mean? There's plenty of free apps and things out there in that nature as well. All right. So think about that. Now, I always say that, it's very interesting that the United States government has the planet Mars is in human form, in God form, as a statue at the U.S. Capitol building. You know what I mean? That's pretty amazing to me. The U.S. Capitol building is where they make laws at in the United States. So why is Mars there? It must mean something, and surely it does. And so, since Mars represents warfare, the second half of this conversation, real fast, the first half is learn how to measure, pop something that may deal with, ibuprofen that deals with pain, because Mars is pain relief. And this is interesting because you're changing your blood chemistry level, which means you're changing your cellular vibration, which in return is circumventing and canceling out this negative signal from Mars from penetrating your being, which in return, always I've seen it where it hits somebody else and it entangles that person. And now this person runs through the red light and they hit you, and it's called an accident, which is a Mars keyword. I'm telling you, the question that we really have to ask is, how did the energy find us? How did it find me? You know what I'm saying? Like that's weird. You gotta really look at that. You know what I'm saying? So like Bruce just said, like martial law. You know what I'm saying? Real spill. So now let's look at the art of war aspect of it. One of my favorite subject matters is the art of war. But I'm not talking Sun Tzu art of war. I'm talking American history art of war. Now, I got a theory, right? So it's only a few people here, but you in the chat. And if you don't have any, just say it. But I got a theory. I got a theory that Black folks do not have a favorite 3 presidents as it relates to slavery, because slavery is synonymous to war. They came and trust me, they enforced it upon you, which is martial. And then to get out that situation was a war. So I have a question. Do you in the chat have 3 presidents that you like or can give credit to far as their work towards ending slavery? Let's just leave it right there, towards ending slavery. 3 presidents. Because I think we don't have none. Hell, I don't even think we have 3 favorite presidents, period, let alone dealing with slavery. But I want to know via chat, do you have 3 slaveries? I mean, 3 slaves. Do you have 3 presidents, favorite presidents as it comes to slavery, right? So Bruce is like, no, I don't. Right? Saeed the Noble, nope. Right? And I think we don't have 3 favorite presidents, period. Maybe Obama, simply because that's a color thing, is black family was good for imagery. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about 3 presidents as it pertains to something that they did. And then let's put it towards slavery. Just living, Abe Lincoln for sure. Right? So I want to share something with you guys. Maybe you know, but I don't think a lot of people know, because I remember at the time that we learned American history, like I'm looking at my children who, my daughter, we homeschool, my son went to regular school last year, but, from 3rd to 5th grade, they was getting into some things, and that stuff you just forget. You just don't remember what you were taught from 3rd to 5th grade, especially if history is not your cup of tea. And it damn sure wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't until I got older in life that I started looking back at some things and saying, oh, I'm kind of interested in this, right? So I want to share something with you guys, right? So this is totally art of war. This because we're dealing with Mars, and since Mars is dealing with warfare, historically speaking, we have to deal with and Mars is at the Capitol building where they make laws. So now let's just go a little bit back and deal with Black history and deal with war. All right, all right, all right. So Saeed the Noble said none of them did anything for us after the Continental Congress, right? So I think I want to I want to argue a different point and say they did. So my favorite, and I'll go in order of their presidency. These are not my favorite by by you know how in the rap game we be like, man, who your top five? Pick your top five, right? I'm just gonna run some that deals with the order of their presidency, but I'll tell you where they at far as my fave. Okay. So first president, George Washington. I have to give George Washington credit because in 1795, a slave trade act was passed that he signed into law that stopped the exportation of slavery, meaning you are not allowed to send Black African people out of this country on a ship and send them elsewhere. This is very important. So now he didn't have to do that. And although Washington himself was a slave holder, I want to put on the record that he inherited slaves as a kid. He wasn't even a teenager. There's some other guys who were slave holders who inherit slaves. Their daddy died, they 8 years old, 12 years old, and they in these certain positions. They inherited as a system. It's no different than if my dad or when my dad crosses over, he leaves me some investment property that he has that he let sit, messed up for some years, and now I inherit the bullshit. You see what I'm saying? It's no difference. Okay. George Washington also allowed for Benjamin Banneker to design Washington, D.C., whereas he didn't have to have that position, and he clearly could have said, no, nigga, I'm about to enslave you. I don't care nothing about you being a free man, none of that stuff. I don't like you. I'm going to enslave you. But instead, when you go back to the famous picture that I posted, or you can Google image Benjamin Banneker, George Washington, and George Ellicott, you're going to see that Benjamin Banneker has on the same clothing attire, blue and yellow, as George Washington. So Washington did two things. A third thing, really, too, there's a famous picture of George Washington traveling with a black guy, a Moor, with a red turban on his head, and that guy's name's supposed to be Prince Whipple. George Washington was rolling with black folks, i.e. Benjamin Banneker for sure, allowing Banneker to design Washington, D.C., which would be the seat of government. And he signs into law the 1794 Slave Trade Act to stop slave, which is interesting because 1 year prior, 1793, is going to be the Fugitive Slave Law, which he has to also sign into law. But dig this. The Fugitive Slave Law is from the South crying that slaves are getting free when they come up north. And this ain't right, man, because y'all allowing our property to get away from us and y'all just copacetic about it and y'all chilling. This is some bogus ass shit. And we're gonna have to rumble about this because this is a problem, says the South. So we're going to introduce a law called the Fugitive Slave Act, 1793. This is the South crying about their slaves. But then this is chess. This is Art of War. This is Mars. Okay, I'll tell you what. Since we have passed the Fugitive Slave Law Act and y'all want to get like that, then how about the very next year, 1794, we're going to stop the exportation of slaves all across the board then. This is chess. So they clapped first with the Fugitive Slave Act, and then Washington responded with a bill. Okay, they said, no, with a law, actually, they said, no exportation of slaves. So I got to give George Washington his props on that. Okay, so that's the first president. Then the number two guy will have to be, I'm just going in order, the third president, Thomas Jefferson. Oh, buddy, I found some shit on good old TJ. TJ is actually, he's my third favorite. But Thomas Jefferson stays true to the game. In fact, you can go on a record book where Jefferson has in his own papers called American Grievances that they have against King George. As early as 1777, which is only 1 year Actually, it was June of 1777. Not even a full year after the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson is writing up a bill to outlaw slavery in Virginia. It actually gets accepted in 1778. And this is in the middle of the American Revolutionary War. We got to understand that the Declaration of Independence is not when America gained her independence. It is when she just simply made a declaration. But 1783 is the Treaty of Paris, when King George says, okay, shit, I done had enough. I've been fighting you for a very long time now. Y'all can be America. I give up. This is 1783. They give up. So in the middle of the Revolutionary War, Thomas Jefferson is writing bills to outlaw slavery. In fact, it is said that Thomas Jefferson says, King George, this is bogus. This is some bullshit. You got slaves coming in here. This is not right. And this needs to stop. And King George won't stop it. Thomas Jefferson holds true to the game, because if you go to the record book in 1787, the Philadelphia Convention, also known as the Constitutional Convention. Remember, the United States wins the Revolutionary War, 1783. 4 years later, we got to have a meeting at the Constitutional Hall to figure out how we're going to run this new government. And in this conversation at this meeting, slavery was brung up, and they said slavery is going to stop. And this becomes a big issue, a big argument, a debate takes off. That's Martian energy, because it's about to get heated. And then I said, tell you what, in 20 years, we're going to stop it. So in 1787 plus 20 years is going to be 1807. Well, this is interesting, because in 1807, Thomas Jefferson passes a law and signs into law that there's going to be no slaves being imported into the United States. And then later that year, 1807, is when the British said, you know what, we're going to outlaw slavery too. Facts. This is signed into law under Thomas Jefferson. But then there's a piece of history that I never heard before. Toussaint Louverture in Haiti is fighting the French. And Thomas Jefferson gets wind that the French is going to try to expand the empire over here in the Americas, known as Louisiana Territory. And he doesn't want that to happen. So he allows contrabands, aka weapons, to get smuggled into Haiti. And Haiti, the Haitians, are using these weapons, and that ultimately becomes the source and ally of becoming an important part on defeating the French. So in a nutshell, Thomas Jefferson secretly financed the weapons that will be used for Haiti to become successful in their revolution against the French. These are things that are not talked about here. So I got to give Thomas Jefferson some props here. Was he a slaveholder? Absolutely. But how can you be a slaveholder and at the same time write and say, man, slavery is bullshit. I ain't messing with it. Again, people inherited things. Not justifying the slavery. Not at all. All right. Now. Okay. All right, Saeed. So it's all classic wiki scholarship, but you can go check the record books on it. And U.S. constitutional in the writings from U.S. government sites. Now, the third person who is my number two, this my motherfucker right here. Listen, I love this dude. I ain't gonna even lie to you. James Monroe. James Monroe is the one that came up with the Monroe Doctrine. James Monroe and the Monroe Doctrine said, hey, England, France, Spain, any European power, y'all come over here in this Western Hemisphere on this Atlantic Ocean down in the Caribbean and try to take over any of these countries like y'all been doing and setting up crowns and stuff. That's going to be a problem with the United States of America. And we're going to go to war. Don't come over here fucking with nobody, because I'm going to take that as a threat that you're trying to expand and conquer us. James Monroe. Look into it. The Monroe Doctrine. See, we don't remember these things, what they mean, because we're taught it too early. We're taught the history entirely too early. It don't mean nothing to us when we in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It means nothing. But James Monroe is also the president that the Missouri Compromise gets pushed into law too. Now, what is the Missouri Compromise? The Missouri Compromise says, hey, it ain't going to be no slaves above 36 degrees latitude north. You can forget about it. Here it is, somebody in Congress. This is Missouri Compromise is 1819. As early as 1819, it ain't even because we just went earlier than that, 1787. I'm telling you, they down in Philadelphia talking about the slavery shit gonna stop. 1819, the Missouri Compromise come in. No slaves above 36 degrees north latitude. Missouri says, I'm coming into the Union as a slave state. Now watch this. At that time, it's 12 free states and there's 12 slave states. Missouri is going to come in and disrupt this balance. Check the chess move. Okay, Missouri, you want to come in as a slave state? Y'all know that eastern part of Massachusetts? Let's break some of that off and call it Maine. And let's bring Maine as a new state into the Union, and they're going to be a free state. How about that? This is clever. It is clever. Because, see, this is what we got to understand. Black people somewhere along the line got free, and we need to see all of the moving mechanics, the players, and the pieces that actually put this together to make it happen. And it didn't start at the Civil War, because Abraham Lincoln's whole thing was, his premise was, I don't see why black folks can't have the same liberty and pursuit of happiness as our forefathers said in the Declaration of Independence as we have. That's what he said on the record. He was using the Declaration of Independence as his cornerstone and foundation and strength of his argument for black folks against Stephen Douglas in the 1858 debates. Look into it. Okay. So James Monroe pushes the Missouri Compromise, no slaves above 36 degrees latitude, and if Missouri coming in as a slave state, we're going to bring Maine in as a free state. How about that? But also, now check this out. I want y'all to look into African Squadron. African Squadron. This is a part of the Navy, 1819, 1820, under James Monroe. This is a part of the Navy whose sole job was to patrol the Atlantic Ocean off the west coast of Africa and Brazil to make sure that no European people are bringing slaves across the water. Facts. Facts. People actually got caught doing it. Slaves got confiscated, released, and they got in trouble for doing it. These are facts. So James Monroe with the Monroe Doctrine, European nations don't come over here in the Western Hemisphere because I'm going to call it, that's going to be a problem. Y'all coming over here trying to take over. Missouri Compromise in the African Squadron. I got to salute James Monroe. I mess with him. Then I'm going to give you a fourth one, the obvious one. Abe Lincoln. See, you got to look at the play. This is the art of war. This shit is ingenious. Think about this. Think about this. I want y'all to think about this. There's a group of people in the government that says we against slavery. That's been like that since 1787 and before that. But 1787 Constitutional Convention, it's on the record, we against slavery. And you got some people say, no, you bugging. We want this. So you can't afford to go to civil war because you just got out of war 4 years prior in 1783, Treaty of Paris. So you can't afford a civil war. So if you against slavery, wouldn't it be smart of you to think that, wait a minute, we might need these niggas in this process to fight because they ain't gonna let them go for free, and we might have to rumble. So, and we ain't ready to rumble right now because we just got out of war. So the first provision that we can pass is no slaves are allowed to go out, George Washington. Genius. Because these would-be allies who we need to free, if you send them out, their numbers could potentially become lessened. So since we're not ready to go to war, don't send them out, but still allow them to be able to come in so the numbers can grow. And our potential allies in the future become bigger. Ingenious. Oh, it's that art of woe shit, man. It's that shit right here. So George Washington, like I said earlier, made the first move. You can't send them out. So now that's putting a blockade on black folks being able to get out. We can't get out, but they still coming in. So now we able to grow. Then on cue, like I said, Thomas Jefferson, on that 20-year mark from 1787, 1807, he said, all right, they ain't allowed to come in no more either. We told y'all that slavery thing was going to be done back in 1787. It's a wrap. By the way, James Monroe was a founding father too. To go back to Abe Lincoln's credit, the founding fathers had this thing where they didn't support slavery. Okay. Now, Abe Lincoln, very interesting. It hurts my feelings when people say stuff like Abe Lincoln didn't free the slaves. The Civil War wasn't about slaves. You're lying. The Civil War was too about slaves. We can just get straight to it. You know how? Y'all go look into Mississippi secession speech when they left the Union. What do the documents say when they seceded and left the Union? What's their reason? Because Mississippi said the word slave, whether it be slavery, whether it be slaveholder, the base word slave, the root word slave from Mississippi was said 7 times. Georgia said the word slave 34 times in their secession speech of why they're going to leave the Union. South Carolina said it 18 times. Texas said it 22 times. So these southern states that was leaving the Union, please tell me, why are they bitching and complaining about slavery if it wasn't about slavery? You're lying. Okay? So now we can just go back and before Abe Lincoln even get in office and go back to that 1858, him and Stephen Douglas having this debate. Y'all know that Stephen Douglas called Abraham Lincoln a black Republican? And what they're teaching is black republicanism. I swear to God, that's on the record book. Because the Republican Party of 1854 came on deck and said, we the anti-slavery party. We just gonna make it plain. We are the anti-slavery party. Gonna make it plain. See, this thing is real interesting because Thomas Jefferson they had something called the Democratic Republican Party. That would later split, okay? That would later split, and Andrew Jackson will take on the Democratic Party, and he's more of the Democratic feel, okay? And now they branch off and have their own thing, okay? Now, James Monroe, to back up a little bit, was trying to do away with a two-party system. It was like, it's just America, nigga, y'all tripping. But anyway, so the 1858 debates, they telling Abe Lincoln, nigga, y'all teaching black republicanism. He talking about they should have the same thing as our forefathers have. Facts. Was Abe double talking? Absolutely, he would double talk. It's the art of war. When Abe would go down in southern Illinois, which was very racist, at one point in southern Illinois, they had laws that even if a black person was freed and you a white man and you trying to bring free people through southern Illinois, you was in big trouble. Southern Illinois was like the South. That was a problem. Central Illinois was mid, and northern Illinois was more of the what we call Republican type, and Abe can talk his shit. And Stephen Douglas called Abe out on that shit and said, yo, he's saying different stuff when we get to different places, so don't believe this dude. Because Abe Lincoln is a lawyer and he's playing these games of semantics with people. But there's a lot of obvious quotes when you start studying them, such as, I despise slavery as any abolitionist. Makes me sick to my stomach. That's what he said. Abe Lincoln, 1862. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. The Civil War starts 1861 because South Carolina said, no. Y'all voted for him. He the president. We out this motherfucker. This because we know what he said. He's been said he don't want slavery. We're out of here. And Abe Lincoln is like, no. I am not going to mess with your institution of slavery. I don't know why y'all think that. I'm not going to do nothing. South Carolina went falling for that shit. They're like, man, you full of shit. In all your debates, you've been talking about you don't like slavery. Now you the president. We out of here. So South Carolina goes to Charleston, and then they see a merchant ship called the Star of the West, and they start shooting at it, and that's the first shot of the Civil War. South Carolina leaves, they number 1, Mississippi number 2, Florida number 3, Alabama number 4 at the power forward, and the center is Georgia. The 6th man off the bench, Louisiana, the 7th man, Texas. Okay? Them your top 7 in that order, just like that. And like I said, in a secession speech, all of them talking about slavery. So 1861 is the kickoff of the Civil War. In 1862, Abraham Lincoln creates something called the Homestead Act. Look into it. And in the Homestead Act, Abraham Lincoln said white men who are fighting with the Confederates, which means you're insurrection, you're in rebellion, you're no longer part of the United States. You are not entitled to any of the land that the federal government has in its possession west of the Mississippi River. And black men, you are allowed to have land. Y'all just got to go on the land, be a certain age, till the land for 5 years, and it's going to be yours. But white men down south, y'all fighting for the rebels? Nope, you can't have no land. Genius. This is in the middle of the Civil War. Abe Lincoln writes a Homestead Act to say, listen, y'all can get some land out west. Just go till the land. And this shit, oh my God, this is so ingenious. Because if you understand where the Civil War took place, the Civil War took place east of the Mississippi River. And he's saying, go get the land out west of the Mississippi River. Super chess. And the Confederates, the rebels, you can't have none. Then, if it's not about slavery, why issue an emancipation? Well, the emancipation wasn't nothing, brother. Man, that's the corniest shit I ever heard in my life. He didn't have to do it. That's the point. What did he do it for? The executive government does not make the laws. So therefore, he made an executive decision and said, hey, that shit y'all doing bogus and the slaves are free. Now, Congress didn't write a law, but he had to put it out there first. Okay? And the emancipation came 5 days after the Union got their first victory on the Eastern Theater. Interesting that wars are called theater like a movie theater. At the Battle of Antietam in Maryland. If you study the Civil War, the United States has one army on the East Coast known as the Army of the Potomac. The Northern Army named their armies after rivers. The Southern boys named their armies after land. The Army of the Potomac is getting that ass whooped. They getting their ass handed to them. Battle of Bull Run, also known as the Battle of Manassas. They getting work put in on them. But a lot of the fights are going in Virginia. And General Lee is like, listen, this is messing up Virginia. I gotta take the offenses to them. Let's go north. We're gonna go to Maryland. And that's the Battle of Antietam. They lose the Battle of Antietam. This is the North's first victory, in the Civil War, that Lincoln gets hyped and he writes the Emancipation Proclamation, and then it will go into effect January that year. Facts. But then why Lincoln create and push the 13th Amendment? See, I get it, the 13, and I understand it. It's not right for people to go to prison and work for slave labor. I've been there. That's not right. Absolutely not. It's not right. But we can't shit on the first half of the 13, because the first half of the 13 is giving you the real deal. Like, no, niggas are citizens. Y'all free. Ain't nobody fucking with y'all because it's against the law, period. Okay? Abe Lincoln had to have that pushed through while he was still in office. That was his aim. Get this shit pushed through. Real story. And then, of course, the 14th and the 15th came, which now is going to deal with your rights to vote and dealing with your right of citizenship. Right? You see something, the Juneteenth celebration come, and I'm going to wrap it up with this. And people be like, every July 4th, people get in their feelings. It never fails. The 4th of July, this ain't my Independence Day. I want y'all to type in Google Abraham Lincoln Mystic Chords of Memory. And you're going to see that he was talking in a parable about how soldiers in graveyards and future battlefields are connected to some form of memory with each other. I then want you to Google the turning point of the Civil War. When did it become obvious, the folding point, that the South was about to get that ass whooped? Because again, in the Eastern theaters, the Army of the Potomac is getting that ass hammered. Gettysburg is a very, very popular fight, and everybody talks about Gettysburg. Rightfully so. It's the furthest north that the Confederates was able to get. General Lee wanted to play offense, got his ass beat, especially at what's called Pickett's Charge, got their ass annihilated. They retreat. Go Google the end of Gettysburg, and you're going to see that was July the 3rd. They fought on like the July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd weekend. I don't know if it was a weekend back then, but it was, those 3 days. July 3rd. Interesting, because this country has its founding on July 4th. Then there's another campaign in Tennessee known as the Middle Tennessee Campaign. Look it up. It ends on July the 3rd as well. This is the Army of the Cumberland. One of the arm used to be known as the Army of the Ohio. Is fighting in Tennessee. Rosecrans, if I'm not mistaken, is probably our general at this time of that particular army. He defeated the Confederates, Braxton Bragg and them, which is considered the worst war general in history. Like I fucks with this war thing. Like this is my shit right here. Braxton Bragg sucks. That's why you got Fort Bragg in one of the Carolinas. Fort Hood, that's John Bell Hood from Texas. He was a Confederate. Okay. And so the Middle Tennessee campaign ends on July 3rd. Same as Gettysburg. Hundreds of miles apart. Right? I know, man. I don't fuck with Mars, Bruce. He's dangerous, man. He just do stupid shit be happening, man. And then the Battle of Vicksburg. All of this is 1863. The Battle of Vicksburg. The Battle of Vicksburg started in Mississippi like in May, and it ended on July 4th. So here it is. You got Vicksburg, Mississippi on the Mississippi River, then hundreds of miles away, Tennessee, and then hundreds of miles away from that is Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. All of those wars ended July 3rd, July 3rd, July 4th on the eve of independence, man. You think that's a coincidence? Hell no. Hell no. See, there was an etheric imprint on July the 4th, man. That's why I'm telling you, July 4th is the illest celebration ever. Could you just imagine being an alien off in space looking at the Earth and you say, hey, every time the Earth appears in front of this constellation right here, we see all of these bright things pop off, which are fireworks, every single time, every year. It's like, you going to, your local fireworks and you like it downtown. When you see it, imagine being an alien or God off in space looking at the Earth go off every year. Boom, 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 boom. And every time this boom, boom, boom is really a grand alignment that's taking place between Sirius, the Earth, and the sun, or in a straight line to one another. Like, this is amazing to me. Which, goddamn, then it's like, oh, wait a minute. The Egyptian dudes knew that. They marked their calendars and all that for like this was their shit right here. Which we later know becomes the United States of America. They create a Washington Monument, which is a Tekken or an obelisk pointing up to the heavens. And now they got statues of Mars. Like it's all a cosmic story taking place here. Right? So July 4th has its own imprint of independence. And so now when you're fighting wars, Vicksburg, Middle Tennessee Campaign, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, all three of these wars conclude at the same freaking time. We better thank whatever that intelligence is, man, that said, I am going to side on the side of the Union where these niggas is going to get free. Because it could have been the other way around. Real talk. So that's the turning point of the Civil War, because what's going to happen is the war came from west to east. General Ulysses Grant, along with William T. Sherman, both from Ohio, are in Mississippi, and we just defeated the Confederates at Vicksburg. Okay. So now we about to move from Mississippi and we about to go east to Tennessee and link up with the Army of the Cumberland in Tennessee. And now we about to start fighting the battles of Chickamauga and all of those. So now we smashing ass, bragging them, beating Bragg ass in Tennessee. And once we get Tennessee, there's going to be a split. General Grant is going to go east towards Virginia, where General Lee is at, And William T. Sherman is going to break communication, and he going to go down south into Georgia, into Savannah and Atlanta, and take Georgia. And once he takes Georgia, he going to route back up and do I-95 north and come back up to the north and start tackling Charleston, South Carolina, and ultimately coming back into North Carolina. So now the turning point of the Civil War, we about to go pretty much eastward and close in on them. Because remember, July the 3rd, the end of Gettysburg, Robert Lee is retreating back into Virginia. So who he's fighting, the Army of the Potomac and them, are going to give chase and start coming back down to Virginia. General Grant is about to come in from the east, come in from the west, and they about to close him off. And he gets closed off. And the rest is history. Now, I want to see something real fast. Because give it to me in the chat. When I say, or when you heard 3/5, the 3/5 compromise meant what? Say it real fast in the chat. What did the 3/5 compromise represent? 3/5. What did we hear the 3/5 was? What do it mean to us? Because Jay-Z even put it in his rhyme, right? What's free? 3/5, I believe, is the phrase. Yes, didn't he say that? What's 3/5? Just say it. What's 3/5? What was 3/5? 3/5 black people. Black people were, what about black people in 3/5? I'm going to show you something clever that these dudes did. I know y'all heard 3/5 like I heard 3/5. What was 3/5 of a human being? We heard that, right? 3/5 of a human being. Right? That's false, man. That's false. That's utterly false. We heard that. I know we heard that. It had nothing to do with the value of a human being. I'm going to tell you how clever the North were. The North said, wait a minute. Y'all want to count y'all property as human beings to vote? If that's the case, then we need to be counting donkeys and desks and chairs, right? How you going to count your property to vote? That don't make sense. So do y'all want them to be free? Or, at least count them as human beings? Well, no. The South don't want to do that because now niggas is going to outvote you. So you don't want to do that. So they say, I tell you what's the most cleverest shit ever. I tell you what, and the North came up with this. I tell you what, let's create the 3/5 compromise. We're not going to count all of your slaves for voting purposes and taxation purposes. So for every 5, we'll count 3. That's 60%. Okay. In 1790, the census had 633,000 slaves were on the record in the 1790 census. Okay. According to the Constitution at that time, each representative, House of Representative, could represent 30,000 slaves, 30,000 people. Okay. So if there's 633,000 slaves divided by 33,000 per representative, that is 21 representatives that the South could have in Congress representing slave ideology. But since we're not counting all of the slaves and we're only counting 60% of them, okay, we're only going to count 379,800. You are now only entitled to 12 representatives in Congress to represent that slave ideology. In other words, we shrunk your representation, which originally should be 21, down to 12. We beat you out of 9 representatives in Congress. on the U.S. House level. You understand how that worked? Had nothing to do about the value. This is art of war shit. How do you go to war without physically going to war? Because nobody wants to go to war. It's costly, it's nasty, it's bloody. Okay? So, one study said in 1861 at the Civil War, the slave population went from 633,000 from 1790 up to 4 million. If they had 4 million slaves on the record book, the South could have had 133 representatives. But by the 3/5 compromise, instead of having 133, they will only have 80. We beat them out of 53 representatives. The 3/5 was a power move to shrink the representation of Southern slaveholders' ideas and representation in Congress. Ingenious. There's always been a battle since the founding of the United States of America. Understand something. The 13 colonies had slaves. At the founding of the United States of America, Constitutional Convention, has always been said that slavery has to go away. The United States has been the only, I want to be clear, the United States of America is the only ally to come and save Black folks from slavery. No other nation popped up with their flag to get us out of that situation and start a civil war. Nor did any other nation come in and support the United States of America while they were at war with the Confederates. I don't know where the Black nation was at, what they was doing. I know the white nations was sitting back looking at this thing like, this is interesting. We probably can fund the Confederates and they could be their own nation. This is payback for breaking loose. This is why the first order of the day was called the Anaconda Plan. We had to block the ports to make sure that the Confederates weren't going to get no weapons from Spain and England. Block the ports first. That's the first order of business. 1789, there are 8 slave states and only 5 free states. In 1821, the count is 12 to 12. In 1846, it's 15 slave states, 14 free. And in 1858, there's 17 free states, 15. 1861 Civil War, 19 to 15 solid free. And ever since the Civil War, the rest is history. There's been free states. There's always been a battle between the free and slave states since the founding of the United States of America, 1787 Constitutional Convention, on the record. Okay? So, war. We should celebrate July 4th. Don't throw it away. July 4th is dope. This fan messing with me. July 4th is dope. All right. Super dope. And that's the art of war. So, yeah, we should have favorite presidents, man. Somehow we got disconnected. All right. Hands down, number 1, Abe Lincoln. Number 2, James Monroe for me. Number 3, my nigga TJ Thomas Jefferson. Number 4, I ain't gonna tell you because you'll be like, oh, he bugging. Number 5, George Washington. But if I have to deal with slavery, number 4 is George Washington. All right. And I'm just saying that to say that, man, raise your hand in the chat or say something in the chat if you never heard this particular story before. Or you heard it, you forgot. You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell you something, man, about the United States of America. June 14th, 1866. Look it up. June 14th, 1866. There's a treaty between the Choctaw and the Creek. Or is it the Chickasaw? But it's the Creek. It's the Choctaw and the Creek. The United States government had to tell them, um, it's in 1865, slavery was officially over. Y'all have to stop enslaving black folks. This is a known fact. The Cherokee enslaved the hell out of black folks. The Creek enslaved the hell out of black folks. Are we Cherokee? Then yeah, absolutely, because there was some intermixing going on when white folks had you both as slaves. But then there came a period where these so-called 5 civilized tribes started enslaving black folks too. Go read the treaty between the Creek and the Chickasaw. All right, or the Creek and the um who is it? Or the chick who is it? The Choctaw. Go read that. Because you're going to see that these dudes in 1865, 1866 had to get reprimanded by the United States government for enslaving niggas still, and slavery was over. That's on their record books, man. You see? How do you get around Mars? If you got Mars Mercury affliction, right? See, I do. I'm gonna give you an example of a positive outlet. I was born with Mars and Mercury 5 and 8 degrees apart. I mean, in the same constellation, only 3 degrees apart from each other, called a conjunction. So if Mercury is verbalizing and Mars is rah, 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 gangster, shoot, 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 then when Mars comes around and gets in a strenuous position versus me being in an accident or having a headache, maybe I need to pop me an aspirin before I even feel a headache just to change my blood chemistry, as I said earlier. And then also, maybe I need to verbalize some form of aggression, art of war. So I can have an art of war conversation and get it out my being. That way I don't, I'm not harvesting no negative energy. Not that what I'm talking about is negative, but it's taking a Martian ray of energy and turning it into something constructive that it fits the motif of, because Mars is violence and war. So therefore I can have a conversation about the art of war. And therefore, hopefully, right? Hopefully, I won't be having no negative experiences. And then I also relate on some other things where years ago, man, back in I would say that was 2012, we created something. I don't know if you can see it. We created a medallion, and then on the other side is a sigil of Mars. And I got Hebrew angelic names on it. So when I know I'm in a strenuous position, I wear the metals because the metals have certain atomic structures, right? It got an elemental makeup. So my idea is, and my intention and my energy, which is the master composer anyway, Mars is in a strenuous position and I'm being bombarded by this ray of energy. I'm directing energy into its proper sigil and using the sigil as a shield to absorb and configure the energy versus it being configured into my psyche. Ancient amulets, Kabbalists of the old know these things. You can get Godwin's Kabbalistic Encyclopedia. And when you start looking into these things, such as Mars, you're going to see angels' names. You're going to see certain geometric shapes that go to certain planetary bodies. So when I want to shield myself or get into the energy of that, I know when to put on my armor of light. You dig what I'm saying? I know when it's time to stay ahead of the game. All right. I also offer, I've been had it for years. I just don't, I've been on my real estate stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm so sorry I've been away from the astro game, but I'm just in love with this real estate stuff. But I do have an astro membership, had it for years on myastrologycoach.com. But what I'm doing is I grandfather you in now into my family wealth club. So you get astral reports. See, the Family Wealth Club, like $37 a month, all physical money building things, real estate, all that stuff. But for those of you who like astral information, and you like, I give a computer spit out report where I highlight what the computer is saying and put my own notes on it. And my job is threefold in a sense. One, to keep your ass safe out of a cold red. Cold red, you can get hurt. Trust me. Cars run into the back of you and like you can get hurt. It gets nasty. My job is to keep you safe. All right. Switch the energy up, knowing what's up. You know what I mean? Have a great relationship, because there's times when your relationship is going to be tested. Mars square Venus could represent a time where your relationship, if Venus is marriage and Mars is a problem and the square is a problem, then and Mars is a fight, then Mars square Venus at this time represent you can have relationship issues. This stuff is not hard, right? So now you need to get ahead of the game and you need to do something nice. This is alchemy, right? You need to get ahead of the negative energy and show appreciation and go on that date and do something, date night, before the negative energy creeps in and she get mad at you for peeing on the toilet, like I like to always say. You see what I'm saying? And it starts a whole nasty argument because there's really some other feelings going on that you're mad about. And get it out. Or it is a great time for you to do something great, and I'm letting you know, hey, this is an excellent time. Yo, do it. Make sure you ride this wave. There's money transits and things of that nature. Time to promote and go public and be out there. You know what I'm saying? You can know these things. So that's only like $44 a month. It's only $7 more for the report, and I'm putting you inside of the Family Wealth Club off rip, because I don't want people around me to be stuck in the realm of spirituality and philosophy and what we call metaphysics while neglecting the financial aspect of your life. I've done that before. That's not good, because it's going to cause a problem. Okay. And so anybody that's coming in now, I'm like, yo, I'll just give you the report for $7. Literally a report, me giving you a personal monthly report for $7. But you're going to come over here and get inside of this Family Wealth Club and be active. So if you want the astro aspect, just go to myastrologycoach.com, click on membership, and just see what I'm talking about and see if it's for you. Okay. Family Wealth Club, the prosperity investment group. Let's get money. So, all right, what you got for me in the chat, man? I take a few. All right. Between my third and fourth house, 28 degrees. What's there? What's right there? You got Mars right there at 28 degrees. What about the statue of Queen Victoria with a sword in her hand in the front in Independence Building in the Bahamas? Man, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that, Giacchino. You know what I mean? Queen Victoria. I don't know. But see, that's interesting. Victoria is clearly victory and whatnot. But it could be some type of rendition of it for sure. Oh man, you got Mars and Mercury conjunct. Hey man, me too, bro. Me too, man. Me too. So if you right now, Mars is flirting around in Leo. So if you are in the fixed signs, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, and if you got anything in Leo, you're what I would call under a cold red right now, because Mars is either going to oppose or square or conjoin the energies that you have, which could represent some type of challenge. All right. So I got Sun in Capricorn, Moon in Pisces. It depends, man. So the Mercury retrograde was where? It started like at early Leo and went back to Cancer, right? So let's just say hypothetically that Cancer retrograde was in opposition to the Sun in Capricorn. So now that Sun opposite Mercury could definitely represent some form of communication issue. The Sun is an authoritative figure. Capricorn is also authority too. So there could be some type of run-in with authorities, or there could be some type of words with father, or this is an excellent time if you have anything to say to your father. It's definitely more of a father energy. This is the time to really go back and say it and, you know, really address it and get it out. And so I would ask KTB, with that marker, do you feel that there's something that can be reconciled with your father? And then I will use this moment to have that retrograde conversation and whatnot. But the beautiful thing about this is the planetary's energy is just it's the planetary's energy. So to me, it's just like, oh, it can only be, a plethora of these keywords right here. So if it's Mars, then it's just gonna be, anger, fights, on the negative side, on the positive side, extreme passion and drive. What up, Gail? Mercury's communication and travel issues. You see what I'm saying? So bam. You know what I mean? All right. So dad passed, but husband acts like dad, right? Right. Because he probably got dad markers for sure. So even if dad passed, you still can have conversation. Okay. One of my favorite stories in doing this work, we remember Minister Jew gave somebody a positron and a father had passed. And long story short, the lady moved. She's a grown woman, dead, dad been dead for years. Moved to new houses, moved several times, and at her new residence, she get a letter in the mail from a funeral home that's addressed to her dad, and it was like no way freaking possible that you can make a honest mistake or coincidence like that. While she was visualizing dad being at prom, dad being at these important places in her life. So that was just a message that comes from what we call the quantum field, or from dad, to let you know that the message is indeed heard. And so even if dad passed and you feel like there's something you need to get off your chest, trust and believe you can just go back within the beautiful in your mind and just do the work and act it out. But if you're going to do it for 21 days straight, and all gas, no brake pads. You know what I'm saying? And get it off. You know what I'm saying? Get it off you. Because I'm under the impression, I'm telling you, that the negative energy gets us when we are harvesting the negative energy of that attribute. So I'm going to have an accident if I'm angry about some shit. You see what I'm saying? And so if I'm not angry about some shit, then why not? And this is why you got to look at the lives of certain like superstars. Like, how many Mars transits Jay-Z been through, and we ain't caught this nigga in an accident. We ain't caught Beyonce in a fight, in a quarrel. You know what I mean? Like, we don't catch. It's hard to catch them on the boo-boo side. It's because their life is filled with freaking abundance and happiness, which is a positive vibration. But if you're harnessing a negative vibe, then that negative energy is likely to come out at this particular time. Okay. You dig? Anybody got anything else? Anything? Mars, whatever. Helen, second house Pisces. So you is the imagination money. Node in Taurus, which means you have to learn about money. What career? It's hard to say off of that, Helen, simply because if you want to say career in of itself, that's a marker that's usually expressed by the 10th house marker, known as the midhaven, also known as the MC. The sign that is on the midhaven gives us insight into what career you may be interested in, or the location of the planet that rules that sign, its location. He's like, hey, I'm the career planet, I'm over here. Then you can look over in that area and see how to tap into that energy. So as a little bit of homework, Helen, look at the sign that's on the 10th house cusp, the MC. See what that sign is. See if you resonate with any of that as far as career options go. And then look at the planet that rules that sign. Go find the location of that planet in your chart and see, based off the location, the sign that it's in, and the house that it's in, is that a career option for you? And that makes sense. But to elaborate on the second house, Pisces, Pisces in the second represents the imagination. It can represent music, inspirational things. Also, it's like hospitals, asylums, things of that nature. These are things that could bring you money: music, poetry, spirituality. You will be a perfect candidate for mental manifestation, vision boards, things of that type of nature. Really applying your mental powers to your physical goals will help you a great deal in you assisting money. Law of attraction is a natural forte for you with Pisces on the second house. Now, the node in Taurus represents you have to grow into finances. And also Pisces on the second house could mean you're delusional as hell about money. And and Pisces represents self-sabotage as well. So you can be delusional as hell about money, you sabotage things about money. Like it's not that the negative side that may not be too good and whatnot. But all frequencies, energies have a positive and a negative. Um, our job is just to work the positive once we know the attribute. But the node wants you to develop a strong financial IQ and a strong value system. And if it's in the third house represents learning because it's communication, writing, and speaking. So you must learn. So I would have you, um, you know, do a minor in finance. Even though you may have a major in something else, your minor should be in finance because that node wants you to develop a stronger financial presence about yourself. All right. So I would do that. See, me at Midhaven Scorpio, then Scorpio is joint finances. Scorpio is this put our money together. It's joint accounts. It's other people's money. It's taxes. It's estates. It's when people die, you get money. It's inheritance. It's stuff like that. And so it's in the realm of investments and whatnot. But Scorpio is one of the most versatile signs ever, though. It could be a surgeon. It can be a healer. It could be somebody that's super sexy into sexual arts. It can be a porn star. It could be a tantric teacher. It can be an investigator. It could be a coroner. For Christ's sake, I always say the person is dead and they have the ability to cut the person open and figure out how they died. That's a whole nother level of intellect. I mean, a whole nother level of intellect and whatnot. So Scorpio is a very versatile sign. So therefore, you may have a few things that you may have thought of, but supporting with that node in Taurus right there, you know what I mean? And that on the Midhaven, I would definitely recommend um, beefing up your financial IQ and getting your money together. Family Wealth Club, man. Come over to the Prosperity Investment Group and join the Family Wealth Club and get in shape. Start budgeting, start getting your shit together. You know what I mean? And you know, I just listen, man, we can't be broke. Yeah, I just refuse. I'm sorry, I refuse. All right. But we gotta get it together. All right. Saeed, 3/5 of a man. I don't know, Saeed. If you're referring back to the 3/5 compromise, I don't think you are though. My Jupiter in Libra, sixth house, so that's abundance of health. That's a good factor. It could mean you could have good health. If you don't have good health, if you get things corrected, whether it be through surgeries or whether it be through any form of healing that you choose, um, good luck is on your side when it comes to your health. Okay. Square your sun, Mercury, and Neptune, Uranus in the 10th house. That's you got a square from the 6th to the 10th. All right. So with all of that, when Neptune's involved, Libra in the 6th, justice, relationships, something about relationships, potential. It's more of a work energy. And so maybe relationships at work, you need to be careful on who your working partners are. With that kind of energy, don't go to sleep at the job and tell somebody to come and wake you up later because they may end up lying and not even lying, ratting you out and whatnot. You can't afford to take the shortcut when it comes to work and relationships. So something about working in relationships where you got to see people for who they are, potential conflict with authoritative people, but just making sure that everything is on the up and up. And even when it comes to a relationship, making sure that the work that y'all do is, copacetic, man. All right. Um, have you ever watched Clash of the Titans The Wrath of the Titans, and got the esoteric meaning behind Zeus, Ares, and Perseus. I've seen Clash of the Titans a long time ago, and I need to see it again. I remember making a video because it was a scorpion that came out, and one dude was fighting a scorpion. I remember when I was creating the Art of War, I used that clip as a promo clip, but I need to watch it now that I have way more understanding from back then. The basics of what I understand is interesting when you're dealing with the Titans. I'm gonna tell you what I was just. That's a good ass question. I'm gonna tell you how I was just studying. Like I said it on Facebook not too long ago that we are pretty much under the spell of the Greek mythology for the next 6,000 years, easy. And I'm gonna give it to you and tell you why. I don't care who the original Greeks were and whether it was South America and all that, which is great information. It's just not my forte. Somebody made an observation and somebody started writing stories. And then when we look at the timeline of what we say the Greeks, regardless of where they come from, they were in a timeline that was easily 2,000 years ago, easy and beyond, right? So that puts them in a whole nother age, which is called the age of Pisces, which precedes this age that we in right now, which is Aquarius. They wrote this story dealing with the Titans, and the Titans were fathered by Uranus, which Uranus rules Aquarius, which is the age of Aquarius that we're in right now. Mind you, these Greeks wrote this story at least 2,000 plus years ago in a whole nother age. And I'm telling you, they were looking out into the future. So when you're talking about a Titan and Uranus, the sky god, Uranus is Aquarius, which is the age now. And then they say, hey, Uranus was being an asshole and he wouldn't allow his children to come out, his wife Gaia, which is the earth, and they were stuck inside of her. Okay. And so then one of the kids got loose named named Kronos, which is Saturn. Okay. And then Kronos was able to pretty much go to war with this dude and get him to fall off the throne. And now Kronos, which is Saturn, now it's his time to rule. But wait a minute. The age of Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and then ancient times it was ruled by Saturn. But then the next age from Aquarius is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. So this is interesting because now the story of the Greek mythology is actually the procession of the fucking equinoxes that we're in and talking about these ages. So we got Uranus 2,000 years later. He falls, Kronos come in, and he gets power, which is now in the age of Capricorn, another 2,000 years. Now we're 4,000 years in the future, which is 2,000 years from now. And now it's the age of Capricorn, and Kronos does the same exact thing. He's oppressing his children, and now he's swallowing them. He's eating them up, and one of them is going to get loose and cause havoc, and it's going to be Zeus, which is Jupiter, which is the next age after Capricorn, which is Sagittarius. And Jupiter, Zeus, is the Olympian god. So now it's the Olympians, that generation, that goes against the Titans. But Zeus didn't do what his granddaddy Uranus did. He didn't do what his father did. Now, I know firsthand, and I don't know if he's still in the chat, Terrence, I can show y'all some shit when it comes to drawing this energy down on a whole nother level. And let me tell you something, when they say Zeus, his weapon, his implement is definitely the lightning bolt. That is very real. Very real. Okay. So it looks like, to be honest with you, with all of this, Uranus got people crazy. We were just talking about this today in the book of Ecclesiastics. Too much wisdom will drive you crazy. Too much wisdom will drive you crazy. Okay? Because you know too much. The Aquarian age has definitely represented the age of enlightenment, but let's also be real, people are crazy. This is the age where, and if you have this viewpoint, I guess we're just going to have an opposing viewpoint, and that's healthy. We can have a dialogue. But this is the age where people can say, I'm a man. Tomorrow, I'm not a female. I'm not a man. I'm whatever I call myself. And we're going through this thing where we get to, from what I heard, I don't know it to be true, but when you first sign up to Facebook, they're saying that there's over 30 something genders that you can choose from. Now we at that point when we acting like gender has not been a definition that's related to sexual reproduction capability. I don't care what you do with the sexual part. It's your prerogative. I don't care. But what is the function of what you have? And that's what we'll label the gender as. You get my point? So this age has allowed people to lose their rabbit ass mind and they don't care about facts anymore. I always say there's a debate on YouTube at a college campus, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, and somebody in the crowd told Charlie, stop reciting facts. Like, did you just say stop reciting facts? Like, we're here to talk about the facts. And you just got two type of people in the world. You got emotional people, and then you got people who deal with facts. And sometimes people be like, you know how emotional people can be? It's just like, but you know what I meant though. Man, you know what I mean. But even though it's right, it's not right. It's just how I feel. I know it's not right, but it's how I feel. And it's like, huh? That shit don't make no sense. So my point is saying all that, according to the mythology, Bruce, even Kronos, Capricorn, that's going to be a problem. According to the Greek, we're not going to see any justice until we get to Sagittarius, which is another 2,000 years, which is 4,000 years from where we at right now. And that's very interesting because if they wrote this in the age of Pisces, 12 o'clock on the wall clock, the precession of the equinox go backwards. If they wrote it at Pisces, trust me, the earth was at 6 o'clock and the precession of the equinox appeared at 12 o'clock. Just imagine the sun in the middle of the wall clock. The earth is at 6 o'clock when the Greeks is writing this mythology. Okay. And they wrote it all the way to 9 o'clock, which is the turning point. Okay. Very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Because if you understand the turning point, that arc is very important because now you're about to see on the whole other side the part that you couldn't see. I hope that makes sense. I hope that didn't go over your head. You know what I mean? And the best way I can explain it is be on the wall clock. Let's divide the wall clock vertically. Let's draw a line from 12 to 6. Okay. Let's put you even, Steven, at 9 o'clock. If the sun is in the middle, you can't see past 12 o'clock, nor can you see past 6 o'clock. In other words, at any given point right now in the sky, from the eastern sky to the western sky, there are only 6 zodiac signs that are quote unquote visible or above your head. It looks like it's above your head. The other 6 you can't see. So that's what I mean by the turning point. So if we take 12 and 6 o'clock and we draw a line straight through, you can pick a side, either you're on the right side or the left side, but you can only see that side that you're on. You can't see the other side unless you get past the arc or the turning point. The turning point is known as the square in your chart. That's why it's friction. The square is a problem because the square is the midpoint that says, hey, once you cross this line, this border, you're on the other side of the solar system. And these cats over here, you probably ain't going to get along with. You see what I'm saying? All right. Is seeing prana / chi a plus when using the power? Oh yeah, man. I mean, when you can see energies, man, that's hella dope. You know what I mean? You don't need an aura machine no more. Now the question becomes when you start getting into the colors and you starting to be able to read people's energy. And then not only that, can you empower the energy that you see if you see any gaps in it? any weaknesses in it and whatnot. So absolutely, that's a that's a plus, man. That's a plus. Big plus. All right. Anybody else before we wrap it up? What time is it? 7 o'clock. I think I'm doing salmon tonight, man. I ain't had no salmon in a long time. Anybody else? Chart question, auto woe, anything? We good? If you watch it, let me know. Oh yeah. If I watch it again, for sure, absolutely, I got you. Yeah, I got you. Yep. Anybody else? Oh, alive on the myth gods. Man, to me, man, well, it depends what theology they are, right? Like they all represent cosmic forces, and the cosmic force to me is just a mirror of a certain precise internal psychological process that we have. That's why I like the Greek and the Roman. I ain't gonna lie to you. They're my favorite because I know they took planets and they made stories out of them. So since I'm a cosmic dude, that just resonates with me. You know what I'm saying? But shit, even when we start getting back into the Egyptian science, we know that Tefnut can be moisture and Shu can be air and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Geb can be earth, and these are elemental energies of science that we're dealing with. You know what I mean? But again, see, Mars is anger on the negative side. I have to choose to express that. Mars is sexual drive. I have to choose to be horny and express that, right? Venus is good taste and what you perceive to be as beautiful, beauty. That's my perception. That's a psychological process. Saturn is discipline. Take your time. Do shit right. That's a psychological process. So all of these planets represent different psychological processes. The 12 signs of the zodiac is a mirror of 12 cranial nerves that are in your brain. You are the master controller operator, which makes you the 13th person. Thus, you are Christ traveling with the 12 disciples. That's a physical cosmic story. The Son of God traveling with the 12 disciples is talking about the sun in the sky traveling through the 12 zodiac signs, but that's just a mirror of you being Christ, Golgotha, the place of the skull, you being Christ inside of your own being, taking control of the 12 cranial nerves in your brain. It's you. So right now, if we open up a window, you can type in 12 bodily systems, 12 body systems. You know what I'm saying? If they didn't put the immune system in there, they'll go get 13th. But again, there's 12 body systems, and the immune system is in here. Sometimes they share with the lymphatic system. You see what I'm saying? So you got these 12 systems of the human body, these 12 cranial nerves in your brain, and we know that the digestive system is we can say that that's Virgo because it's dealing with intestines. The excretory system that pushes out the boo-boo and the gas and all the fecal matter, that's Scorpio. Right? If we're dealing with the skin system, how they say it, the integumentary system, that's Saturn, bones, skin, and whatnot. The skeletal system is Saturn. So some of these signs have dual systems that they rule. You know what I mean? This is why they gave you 7 planets in the ancient system, but the 7 planets, out of them, these planets have more than one zodiac sign that they ruled. Saturn was home to Capricorn and Aquarius. Jupiter had had Pisces and Sagittarius. Mars had Aries and Scorpio. You see what I'm saying? So these systems is you. It's inside of you. The beauty about the external system that I love, and the angels is talking because my ear is buzzing now. The beauty about the system that I love, the external system, is it allows you, and it's the only system that allows you to go up into the future and be able to get the environment, to be able to understand what the climate is going to be. So we can go up to any year in the future and be like, oh shit, Jupiter is going to be, I'm going to have a Jupiter return. I was born with Jupiter and Taurus. Jupiter and Taurus ain't going to happen to another X amount of years, and that's going to be right here. So now, since that's 10 years from now, I can form a 10-year plan and start to plan on something, and because they can manifest at this particular time. And this is what the environment looks like. So this craft I love because it gives us the ability to accurately foresee a reflection of our reality before we get to that reality. That's the dope part about it. But again, it's a mirror of your own bodily systems, as I just pointed out. Right? All right. All right, man. So again, man, get at me. If you're interested in the astro stuff, man, I get you straight. Been doing this for years. People don't get hurt on my watch. And I've been doing that. That membership been in active since 2011, maybe 2011 and whatnot. Myastrologycoach.com. Click on the membership tab. It's only $7 more for the report, and I'm automatically going to put you over into our Family Wealth Club. If you want to get straight to the paper, man, let's talk about it. Let's get to it, man. Call me. You know what I mean? You can hit my Google Voice 267-403-4078, but you can hit up the Prosperity Investment Group.com. Check out the Family Wealth Club. And I'll say this about that. Listen, man, if you don't know, I keep these as antiques. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to give away that part. Let me see. Can I do it like that? How can I do it? How can I do it? I don't know. Can y'all see it? You may see it right there. All right. So that's a check for $33,000. Another one, my first one was $17,000. You know what I'm saying? It's like 50 grand real fast that I did in wholesale. All right. So investors are paying hundreds to thousands of dollars to generate a list. Most of them are, we all go into listsource.com. What I like to do for people in the Family Wealth Club inside of our study group, on wholesale study group, if you want to learn this and learn how to get this paper, then I'll form the list for you absolutely for free. I mean, the bigger your list, of course, the more you're going to pay, right? But I'm going to give you access to that for free because I already pay for a software. I'm in this game. You know what I mean? I already pay for a software and whatnot. You too can pay $100 a month for the software, but as a member and as a courtesy, you just tell me the zip code that you want to get busy in, tell you the criteria. Like for me, 3-bedroom houses are the sweet spot for me. So I'm looking for 3-bedroom houses. I'm looking for and the owner has been in it. They own the property for at least 2 years. So now I know, it's not a house that just recently somebody bought, because somebody who just bought a house within 2 years probably don't want to sell it, right? So a certain criteria that I'm looking for, and I'm just giving you the list for free so y'all can get in and do this thing. All right, but check it out when you get a chance, man. Hit me up if you need me. All right, peace.